Charlie Kennel of Tropicon and Grant Robinson of Sugar City Con, thank you both very much for coming on the Paid to Play podcast.
No worries.
Happy to be here.
Tell me, gentlemen, what are you guys geeking out about right at the moment? What are what's happened, or what have you discovered, or what have you been getting into recently that you've been particularly enjoying?
Charlie's arcade machine.
I've been to his place, Grant. I've seen it.
Yeah, I've been getting into my arcade machines as well, bro. I actually did a couple of hours Donkey Kong practice the other day with you in mind.
Oh, envious.
I still can't get past the third level.
Which level? The elevator level?
Yeah, I can do. Well, mine goes back to the first level, like 25 meters. Then I go to the second stage, then back to the first stage. Then it goes to its other stage, and I don't know what's going on. It's not for me, eh?
Yeah, that's the elevator level. That's what most people don't get past that level.
How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm way past that. Wait till you get to the pie level. That's even worse.
All
right.
Now, let's see. Actually, I think we got Charlie. Did we get you?
No.
Grant? We didn't. No.
Yeah, Grant was geeking out over my machines.
That's right. That's right.
What else is he geeking out over?
Today was a bit of a rest day for me, so I got to catch up on some comics and things, which was good. TV is always a big thing for me. There's so much good nerd TV happening right now, so it's hard to try and keep up with all that sort of stuff.
You watching Game of Thrones?
Yeah, up to date on that.
Sick.
Just finished Daredevil not long ago, which was amazing.
Yes, I only wish that they had The Flash on free-to-air TV, because that's something I'd like to see very much.
You haven't watched it?
No, we don't have pay TV simply because, we can't justify it, you know what I mean? We don't watch enough TV as it is to really bother paying extra a month for more TV, if you know what I mean. And
Totally understand, yeah.
I couldn't be asked downloading. I've got other things to do in the time.
I can tell you what TV I watch, what we have. So my wife's American.
Uh-huh.
So we have access to her American pay TV account online.
No way.
Yeah, which is pretty handy for us, so we don't have to wait until things show up on Netflix. Plus, we also have US Netflix, plus we have Foxtel and Hulu, so we've got them all.
You're laughing, bro.
Basically,
you've got to watch The Flash. If you not find a way to, don't illegally download it, but find a way to get The Flash. It is Charlie disagrees, but it's the greatest show on TV.
Oh no, I watched it because I saw all your Facebook messages and I was umming and ahhing, and then as soon as I heard Wentworth Miller and Dominic Purcell were in there, I was sold. Like, I'm a big Prison Break fan.
Yeah.
But other than seeing those two guys, I wasn't overly keen.
Oh.
Does that offend you?
It's your loss. Your loss.
So, are you going to be all over Legends of Tomorrow like Arash then, Charlie?
No, I might give it a watch. Sometimes I wait for a series to be out for a couple of seasons to make sure that it's really good, and then I'll binge watch it.
Even though it's got those two in it?
Yeah, it's a big draw card. But I like to wait. I love my binge watching. I like to just get a series and just sit down and nail it in a couple of weeks.
That's what we do too. That's why Netflix is so amazing.
I just did Falling Skies. Someone recommended it to me, telling me it was Jasmine's uncle Gary. He said that it was a continuation of District 9, the film. Right?
Liar.
I love District 9, so I'm like, well, I've got to get into this. Yeah, start getting into it, and I'm waiting for it to play in, and I'm like, nah, Jazz, this there's no way this is anything to do with District 9A, but it is awesome. One of the best alien sci-fi series I've seen in a long time.
Okay. So, now, you, Grant, I assume you've been in the Mackay area for most of your life, is that right?
I wouldn't know, actually. I grew up in Claremont, out west.
Okay.
And then once I got older, I actually joined the army and travelled around a fair bit. And I've only been back in Mackay the last 5 or 6 years, maybe.
And Charlie, you're as anyone can probably tell, you're not a native-born Australian.
Definitely a Pommy.
Yeah. How long have you been in the Cairns area for?
I was actually working it out on the way here, brother. I was thinking that through in my head. I think I've been in Cairns about 5 years now. Yeah. Australia for nearly 8, and I originate from back in Pommyland, a little town called Kenilworth. So, yeah, very different to here in the tropics.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm a southern UK boy myself, born in Watford, just north of London. So
Far out.
yeah.
How did you escape?
Mum was Australian born, went over to the UK for a holiday, met dad, and the rest was history for a while. And I think around about the time when I was about 9 years old or so, Mum was getting a little bit narked with the UK, and we, after having the Australian relatives visit us for most of my life, we went on a 2 week holiday to Australia, and Dad took one look at the place and said, "Bugger it, we're moving." So
Pretty much how I felt when I got here, bro.
Yeah.
It was eye-opening.
So when did you guys first get the idea to actually organise a a pop culture convention in your town? I mean, starting with you, Grant, as Sugar City Con has had its first year last year and was successful, and is now gearing up for its second event in August this year. When was that moment when you sort of thought, right, I'm going to organise a pop culture convention for this damn town?
Right, I'll try and keep it short. It was probably February last year. I have a friend who's got a Facebook page for Mackay geeks and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the question was asked, could Mackay host a convention? I was one of the first people to jump on and say, no, there's no way Mackay could do it. We haven't got the people, we haven't got the infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. So I sort of wrote it off. But at the same time, it put the idea in my head. I thought maybe we could do something small. At the very least, we could do a very small show, get a few people, see how it goes, sort of thing. And then it sort of just grew from an idea to putting the word out, asking to see if anyone else had the same idea. Got a few people together, formed the committee, got a name, venue, date, and from there it just snowballed into bigger and bigger and bigger. As weeks went on, it just got bigger.
Wow. Now, how about yourself, Charlie? I mean, I know some of your story having seen it in the paper, but when did you actually decide that you were going to start campaigning to get a local version of Supernova up here?
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago now. I had a look at the conventions going on down in Brisbane, Queensland, and thought, we've got a population of 150,000 plus Townsville. We're crying out for a convention. So I put the feelers out. I started a petition, and wasn't too successful, I guess. The petition. We got a couple of hundred signatures, but nothing to turn the heads of the big conventions. And then I heard about Grant's convention, Sugar City Con. I decided, right, if we can't get down to Brisbane, Mackay's halfway, we can do that. So I organised a coach here for some dedicated geeks, I guess. There was 25 of us, and we hired out a bus for a couple of days, hit Mackay, went to Sugar City, had an amazing time. I got the pleasure to meet Grant, and it was through my chats with Grant where Grant mentioned, maybe you don't need these big guys, maybe it is something you can do yourself. So I was a bit overwhelmed at first. Thought, no, I could never do anything like that. But Grant really laid it down in a step by step and said, this, from my experience, this is what I did first, and then I did this, and Grant's helped me every step of the way get Tropicon together. So Cairns definitely owes a lot to Sugar City.
I could tell the story of how Charlie and I met.
Oh, please do.
We were at the stage where we were looking for vendors and things to come to Mackay, and through Googling and things like that, we found Luigi's first. So we sent him a Facebook message, said, if you're interested, come down, let us know. Charlie was very diplomatic and polite and said, no, look, I don't think I can make it because he was due to have his baby at the same time.
Jazzy was my wife Jasmine was giving birth around that time.
Yeah, so we said, oh, that's a pretty good reason. That's fair enough. But then I discovered he was the man behind the petitions for Cairns. I thought, well, if he's doing that, surely he has to come and check us out as well. So we just started talking online. He was good enough to organise that coach for us, which we always thought was a brilliant idea to bring the Cairns people down to us.
We had an epic time.
Yeah. And when he got here, he came up and said, this is great. We should do something in Cairns. I said, yeah, you should do something in Cairns. It's hard, but it's not that hard. As long as you're willing to do it and put the time and effort into it, it can be done.
So I have to ask, Grant, did you actually get Charlie to skip out on the birth of his daughter?
No, that was my decision. Yeah, once we'd done the coach, there was a spare seat. Jazz was about 3 weeks away from giving birth, and we weighed up the options, and we thought, nah, she was keen to go down and check out Sugar City. She was that keen. She travelled 10 hours on a bus to Mackay.
Pregnant. Oh,
Yeah.
3 weeks shy of.
That's how much Cairns is crying out for this kind of convention. The fact that dedicated people here are willing to go that far out of their way to get to a convention.
All right, so there was no skipping out. She was on the bus and came down to Mackay with you.
She was.
Oh, bloody heck! Now I'm really sorry she couldn't make it along today.
Your kid could have been born in Mackay, Charlie.
Yeah, we were discussing that. What would it be like if she gave birth on the coach and my firstborn was delivered by cosplayers. Luigi. Who else was there?
Okay. Was there anybody there cosplaying as Darth Vader? Because that would have been.
No,
I am your father. No,
we had an
actually, no, I'm not.
from Assassin's Creed.
Oh boy. So let's see. You have Grant. You have now got. I tell you what. Tell me a little bit more about that first year of Sugar City for a guy who basically, didn't make it down himself. Obviously, it was a success. But what were some of the fantastic things that happened, and what are some of the disasters that you perhaps narrowly avoided before enduring?
Okay. Probably the biggest thing for us last year was just the attendance. We expected 500 people, and we had 1,200 come through the door over the day. So to us, that was just a huge surprise and a very welcome surprise, because it was great to see so many like-minded people. But with that came a lot of other problems that we just weren't expecting. We had. It's fair to say we had some issues last year with things like parking. We didn't expect so many people to turn up, so that was an issue. Little basic things like making sure you've got enough water for the cosplayers and stuff to go around, and enough activities to fill in the day so that people don't get bored and things like that. So, yeah.
And Sugar City Con was a one-day con at the time?
It was last year. Last year we were at the PCYC, which was the perfect venue for us for our first time in a one-day con. We just filled up the stadium with as many vendors and guests as we could. We had a panel room, so we had panels going on all day with screenings of anime and Q&As. We had some really good guests. We had Barjo and Hex, which really sold us to the community. So we had a lot of not so geeky people who knew who they were who still came along. So that was great for us.
Fantastic. And for those people who are listening, Barjo and Hex are the hosts of an Australian Broadcasting Corporation television program called Good Game. So you get those two along, then your con definitely has some cred.
Yeah, it did for us. They were our real draw card to get people in, but we also had other fantastic guests. We had 3 comic book guests: Paul Mason, Dean Rankin, and Wayne Nichols, who 2 of which are going to Tropicon this year. They were a godsend for us. They went above and beyond to help us out to get us started with things for our crowdfunding and just media, stuff like that.
And so moving to this year, we've got Tropicon coming up on July the 11th, and I apologise for not having the date ready, Grant, but Sugar City Con is on which days in August?
29th and 30th of August.
All right. Well, at least that gives people plenty of time to recover from Tropicon before they have to hop on a bus again and head down to Mackay for Sugar City.
Maybe enough time to make a new cosplay outfit.
Possibly. So, Grant, coming off the success of the first Sugar City Con and now having to work for a 2-day con, what are some of the things that you're doing now that, of course, you wouldn't have done for the first one? And Charlie, working off Grant's experience and coming up on hopefully the first of many Tropicons to come. How are you finding? Have you ever organised anything like this before, Charlie?
No, I organised the Cairns Zombie Shuffle last year,
Mm.
and we got a couple of 100 people turn up for that, and that's something I'm keen to organise again for this year once I get Tropicon out the way and done and dusted. As soon as I finish that, I'll be straight on to organising another Tropicon, providing this year's a success.
Yeah.
Vendor-wise, we've got heaps of activities, heaps of vendors. I could have filled it twice the space that we have this year. So, yeah, I could definitely look for a bigger venue for next year. I'd just like to see happy, smiling faces and heaps of people from Cairns there. If everybody turns up, everybody's smiling, then, yeah, I'll rock on for next year.
So, yeah, and Grant, how about you coming up on Sugar City Con 2?
Same sort of thing. For us, because we're a much bigger space and with 2 days, we just had to make sure we were basically bigger and better than last year. More vendors, more guests, more activities to do on the day, better, but not so much a layout, but a better overall feel for the con to make sure it's well worth having 2 days and a bigger venue.
Now, on the pay-to-play scale, now I know pretty much organising a con, especially if you're doing it for the first time, is not necessarily a profit-making venture, and I don't really want to grill you guys about the dollars involved, but what does it take to get a convention to at least make sure that it is covering its expenses? And did that happen last year for you, Grant?
Yeah, it did for us. We were very fortunate. Our structure was we did a Kickstarter first, not a Kickstarter, an Indiegogo, sorry, so crowdfunding.
Yeah.
We used that just to basically have some money in the kitty straight up. We sort of made it clear from the start that those in the committee didn't really want to put in too much of their own money. So we used crowdfunding to get us the kitty. So we're very grateful that everyone donated through that and they all got their rewards sent out, everything on time. And then we used that along with the generosity of some guests so that we could basically make announcements of people who are attending. And then from there, it's just working out how an event runs, what you need to run an event, all the behind the scene things that people who go to cons don't really see or know about, to make sure that's all sorted out. And then we were basically completely paid up just before the event, and then the people who came through the door ensured that we went into a profit margin.
That's good.
And I should also mention we're a registered not-for-profit group, so the money that we do make just goes straight back into the next one. So no one from my committee pockets any money; it all just goes back into the con.
Right. And I guess that's another thing I want to ask you guys both about, is crowdfunding, because it's increasingly, especially amongst the pop culture and geek circles, it's becoming sort of a core part of getting a product done, whether it happens to be a convention, a video game. I mind me that Tim Schafer of Double Fine Productions sort of got everybody's attention when they organised a Kickstarter for whatever their next point-and-click adventure game was going to be, and it basically blew away its target and then some. And of course, I myself have got the Patreon page for this podcast. What is, and you both have, had Indiegogo pages for your conventions. What is your take on crowdfunding? What are some of the great things about it, and what are the things that maybe people need to be aware of before they embrace it as a possible funding method?
It worked fantastic for Tropicon. Obviously, chatting with Grant, he suggested that I start off with an Indiegogo campaign. So I had a rally round with guests I'd organised and asked if they'd send some stuff in to generate some cash early on.
Yeah.
No, it worked really well. People were happy. They got tickets at discounted prices. They got sketches, stuff that won't necessarily be available elsewhere. So yeah, it was a great way to raise some initial income, because going into Tropicon, all I really had was the idea, the enthusiasm, and I didn't really have a budget. There was no. I tried to organise a committee of people similar to what Grant did, but people had other commitments. So yeah, it was really just left down to me. So I didn't really have a great deal of income I could put aside myself. I just did what I could with the Indiegogo campaign. We had sponsors which helped out with some cash to get it going in the early days, like Singapore Charlies and Kasplat. They donated some good money to help.
Yeah. One of the things I notice about Indiegogo particularly is one of the things that makes it different from Kickstarter is that Kickstarter kind of tends to be an all or nothing crowdfunding where people can volunteer a donation and they can commit to donate, but unless the minimum funding goal is met, no one's monies are collected. Whereas with Indiegogo, people who went in, I think in your case, the Indiegogo campaign came in a little short of target in the end.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah,
I think the target was $2,500. I wanted to raise initially. We raised 1,900.
Yeah.
That's pretty much exactly the same as ours too. Yeah. We fell just short as well.
It was more than enough to get the ball rolling in my case, Grant, and I can imagine it was the same for you. It helped confirm venues and boothing suppliers and stuff.
Yeah.
We sort of weighed up the option whether or not to go with Kickstarter, or you can do it on Indiegogo as well, where you make it an all or nothing thing.
Yeah.
We figured if we sort of had an idea in mind of how much we needed, and we thought if we make that amount, we can still make things happen. And so we went with the partial pay, I guess.
Yeah.
And we preferred to have more, but we made the minimum set amount that we needed to get things going. So that was great for us.
And I guess at least with my experience with Tropicon anyway, it was one of the main things was that the funding level, unless you chipped in a really small amount, you were pretty much getting a ticket anyway. Yeah. So even if you didn't hit target, at least most everyone who put in some cash was still getting a ticket of entry no matter what happened.
Definitely. I actually did them at half the price of what they'll be on the door. For the Indiegogo campaign, tickets were $10, and we had other perks. With every perk we had available, it came with a ticket as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Those people that got in early got a bargain.
Now, one of the things that really interests me about this whole convention in the Tropics angle is the sheer spread of popular and I guess specifically geek culture, because you would anyone looking in from the outside would look at places like Mackay and Cairns, which are both, their current or ex-Cane towns. Cairns has got a history as well as being a shipbuilding and a fishery industry town, and right now it's kind of mainly going on tourism. They both seem unlikely places to be hubs of geek culture. I mean, what's your experience of the local scenes been?
Myself, I became aware of the geek culture and the geek society here in Cairns when I started Luigi's Video Games, so about 4 years ago. And since then, more and more shops have been popping up, like Kasplat Comic Books. You're a regular there. The Wicked Goblin. Geek culture just seems to be booming. It's a cottage industry, but it's definitely booming here in Cairns. And I'm not sure about Mackay. When I went down there, I saw a few decent places where I had a little shop myself.
Yeah.
We're everywhere. You can go to any town, and if you know where to look or who to look for, you'll find nerds and geeks. They're everywhere. It's just a matter of getting the word out for our events to show the large community that you can all come to this one and all catch up together and hang out and that sort of thing.
I guess you can almost chalk a lot of that up to the internet, because people. I wonder if it's because if people feel like they can actually connect with other people and get a little bit of security in the things that they enjoy, that they can actually share them, even if there's no one locally. It gives them a bit more confidence to front their thing a little bit more in their regular lives, instead of it just being sort of a shut in, keep it in your room because no one around town's going to get it kind of thing.
Yeah, one of the things we tried to do this year was trying to have smaller events with the lead up to the convention. So we had our trivia night last night, which was the first geek trivia night that Mackay's had. We have regular Cards Against Humanity meetups. There's a cosplay group here that pretty much formed after Sugar City Con, and they do regular events, gaming nights and zombie Nerf fights, things like that. So all that sort of came about just after us. So we sort of see ourselves as they came together for us, but then they went off in their own little groups to do their own thing, but they're still really well connected to each other.
That must be a good feeling to know that you've brought those kind of people in the community together.
Yeah, it's good as long as they all keep coming back to Sugar City Con.
Well, I mean, I guess as a unifying part of the local landscape. I mean, now after the first one, Sugar City Con has got to be something of a geek cultural landmark in Mackay. That because it's a general pop culture convention, all the people with the specific interests, the cosplayers, the gamers, the science fiction and fantasy geeks, all that kind of thing. They've got somewhere that they can all get together and chat now.
Yeah, so we sort of cater. We see it as though there's three groups of people who attend. We've got the local geeks who would come to us regardless of how it was because that's what they're into. That's where they feel comfortable, so they would come. Then we have the general public here in Mackay, so the families and the couples and that who are just looking for events and things to do in the local area. We try to draw them in as well. And then there's the people who aren't from Mackay, like who Charlie had come on the bus, plus the people who go to Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne cons. We have to try and make sure we are a legitimate convention on the convention circuit to encourage them to make their travel up as well.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get all three groups to come together.
Now, that's one thing I'm a little bit curious about. I mean, there are, of course, the big cons around Australia. Oz Comic Con, I think, has got a few franchise events going. There is the big Kahuna Supernova with, I think, about 5 or 6 cons in major cities every year. What do you find attracts the crowd who tend to go to those big events to things like Sugar City Con and Tropicon?
Probably they either come for the guests that we have or the activities we put on, or generally they know someone who's either in the town or is near here and is coming anyway, and they drag them up from Brisbane or Sydney, wherever.
Yeah, I found that with Tropicon, a few people are coming up to Cairns anyway to meet up with family and stuff. So yeah, they've decided to come and check out Tropicon while they're here.
Yeah, and an important part of us, and Charlie's the same, is to make sure our dates don't coincide with the bigger ones. We have to make sure we're far apart from the bigger ones as well as each other so that people can have the option to come and see us as well.
I think you might have helped me out with that in the early stages with one of my original dates, which coincided, and you nicely pointed it out. I think there's another convention happening on that date.
Yeah, you're going to do a Gold Coast Supernova weekend, weren't you?
That would have been a wise move.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, I picked it. I wanted to go for the school holidays because it's definitely something. What kid isn't going to go and want to meet their favorite superheroes and villains? So yeah, I wanted it to be a kid-friendly event. So I wanted it to be school holidays, and then I'd also got the Cairns show to contend with. So that wiped out a portion of the holiday for me. So yeah, July 11th just seemed to fit in the end.
Yeah, so you have to worry about the larger cons as well as local events as well. You got to make sure you don't do anything that council may already have organised and stuff that can draw away that general public attendance. You need them as well to come in.
Yeah.
Rob's getting all giggly because July 11th is his birthday.
Yes, there was one major local element on the Cairns calendar that might have caused a conflict, but there was some negotiation and all parties settled on a mutually beneficial outcome, Grant. So
Tropicon
yes.
originally started out just as Rob's birthday, and it just snowballed from his birthday
Precisely.
party into this.
That's what we're going to celebrate. That's the main thing.
Indeed. So, gentlemen, if there were 3 things that you wish going in, and this might be especially for you, Charlie's might be a thing, as Tropicon is still in progress at the moment. But if there were 3 things that you wish someone had told you going in that would have made your lives in getting the cons organised and run easier, that you think might be helpful to someone maybe listening to this podcast who's sort of been nursing the idea of trying to organise some sort of convention or event for their area, what would those 3 things be?
Speak to Grant. Speak to Grant. Speak to Grant.
Okay, handing over to you then, Grant.
I know Charlie said he tried and it didn't really work out for him, but try and find like-minded people who can help you. That's probably the biggest and best thing that's happened to us. We've got a committee. We have got a slightly smaller committee than last year, but my committee makes sure I don't have to do all the work. So I've got my vendor coordinator, Tony Lee. She's basically the brains behind most of the things. She does all the legwork, all the footwork for emails, phone calls. She's a lifesaver for us. And then I've got Sean, Morgan, and a bunch of others who really take some of the workload off me. So if you can find like-minded people to help you, definitely go that route. But if you can't, don't be discouraged. Charlie's proved it. You can still do it by yourself. You just have to do a bit more.
It took a lot of time. I'm not sure if you could do it and maintain a full-time job. Luckily, with doing Luigi's myself, my wife was able to take off some of the weight from the Luigi side of things while I heavily focused on Tropicon. But what I wouldn't give for a vendor coordinator, Grant, I didn't even know they existed. I've just written that down. That's something I need. I want to get me a vendor coordinator.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter where you are. It really does become a second job for me because I work full time. My lunch hours at work are spent doing Sugar City Con things. I come home. I'm sort of lucky that my wife works nights, so I can do stuff while she's not here. But when she is home, that's family time for me. But it does take over your life if you're serious about it, it'll take over your life, and you'll find yourself doing that more than anything else. But it's a labour of love too, so it's not a bad thing.
Definitely, I'll be stoked on my day when I can see that Cairns finally has something I've been trying every which way to get for the last few years. It'll be a day when I can finally look at all those faces and be like, we all got together, all the geeks under one roof, and we can be proud.
There's nothing better than having someone come to you and say it was a good day and they were glad they attended, or even the naysayers who you convert who said it couldn't be done, when they come up to you and say, you know what, you actually did a really good job, then that totally makes it all worthwhile.
Fingers crossed.
You'll do all right, man. It'll be great.
Well, you'll be there on the day to help, bro. You're doing the Q&As with the comic book guys, eh?
Yeah, better start planning that.
One thing that just occurred to me, I remember reading when the guys at the webcomic Penny Arcade, which I hope both of you have probably seen at some point or another. I've got Charlie nodding at me. How about you, Grant?
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably I should have thought, of course you guys would know about it, because the reason why I bring them up is the Penny Arcade Expo, which within the last couple of years opened up an Australian branch. So you guys would be fully aware of it. But one of the things that I always remember when they started talking about the first Penny Arcade Expo is that they wanted to all of the other conventions out there weren't the convention that they wanted to go to, so they decided to make it themselves. The only problem, of course, with that is if you're making the con and running the con, it makes it hard to be someone who goes to the con, an attendee.
Enjoy it yourself.
Yeah. How, particularly you, Grant, how have you found that?
I didn't get to do anything fun on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was for me, it was a lot of just chasing up things, making sure people are okay, having to organise timetables, volunteers. You don't get to enjoy the day in the terms of a regular attendee. But like I said before, when people come up to you and say, this is great, that's where you get your enjoyment for the day. But it is true. Our convention is, we pretty much only do things because we would like to do it.
Yeah.
So our guests, our activities, if it's not something we enjoy, we won't do it. Or if it's a guest we don't like, we won't have them. So the guests are generally people we want to meet, because at the same time, we get to hang out with the guests before and after the show.
Yeah.
So that's where I get my enjoyment from, like the attendee side. So I can geek out over the guests the day before or the day after.
Right. So pretty much guaranteed backstage pass, effectively.
Yeah, pretty much. You get that for sure.
Do you think I'll be able to get Wentworth Miller here one day, Grant?
Who's that, sorry?
Do you think I'll be able to get Wentworth Miller here one day?
I don't know if I know his agent, but I can find out. There's no reason why any convention can't get anyone, providing they're committed and can organise it properly.
We need Wentworth.
Yeah. Try it for next year.
All right. So I think we've got a goal for Tropicon 2. Unless we're extremely lucky and we can somehow get him for July this year. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. So to wrap up, for the people who have been listening to this show, where can they, once they've finished listening to this episode, where can they find you guys? And pimp your cons out, fellas. Give us the details that that would sell them on going. So Grant, you go first. You've got.
Right, so we're on the 29th and 30th of August at the Mackay Showgrounds over 2 days this year. We've got comic book guests, Darren Close, Tom Taylor who's currently writing Iron Man, and he's done some other amazing stuff. We've got Becky Cloonan, who's an international guest, who was the first female to draw Batman on his series, but she's also got a million of other great books out there. We've got Paul Lighting, who's a voice actor. He's probably best known to the younger generation as Uncle Max from Ben 10, but for people our age, he's best known as the voice of Perceptor from Generation 1 Transformers. So we're really happy to have him. He's international as well. We've got, Lani Tupo from Farscape. That'll be pretty fun, a sci-fi actor from way back, so that'll be great. George Ivanov, who's our first writer we've had as a guest. He writes like those Choose Your Own Adventure books that you probably remember reading as a kid. He does that sort of thing. He's also a big Doctor Who fanatic, so we'll be talking about that. Plus, we've got cosplayers, Vicky Vic, Evie Dante's Inferno, and Twerkin Gherkin. So that's our guests. We've got a whole bunch of activities. We've got the zombie run that's happening at the same time as us. That'll be held on the Saturday night. So Charlie's done the zombie shuffle in Cairns. We're doing a zombie run in Mackay.
I'll have to check that out. I didn't realise you were doing that night.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Saturday night. We're still working out some of the details, but we've got the bloke from Rocky who did the ones down south.
The Great Escape.
Yeah, the Great Escape.
That looked awesome.
They're going to do one for us as well, so it'll be Mackay's first.
Awesome.
We've got a whole bunch of other stuff. Tonight we just announced Steve. I can't pronounce his last name. Stadamentius, I think. He's a video game developer, so we're trying to focus a bit more on video games this year. We've got a whole bunch of consoles, PS4s, Xbox Ones, all this stuff showing up. We've got more vendors than last year, more activities than last year. It's bigger and better than it was last year.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And Charlie?
That'll be my honeymoon after Tropicon. Yeah, we've got some awesome comic book guys. We've got Dean Rankin that he's worked on the Simpsons and Futurama comic books.
Mm-hmm.
He does something quite quirky on the day. He'll Simpsonize you, so you can rock it, and it's like a caricature, but he'll draw you as you would appear in a Simpsons comic or cartoon, which is awesome. We've got Paul Abstruse for all the brownies out there. Mm-hmm. He's obviously doing the My Little Pony franchise. Got Wayne Nichols. He does some stuff with the Avengers and Spider-Man. We've got some cosplayers, same guys that Grant's got, Evie Dantes, Twerkin Gherkin, Vicky Vic. We've also got a Doctor Who impersonator coming up from Brisbane, Liam McLeod. We've got a video game journalist, Alana Pierce. She works on Button Bash and Gamebug, and she's actually originally from Cairns. So she's doing some stuff over in the States at the moment and all around Australia, but it was good to get a local back here. Another local we've got is Hannah Holmes. You might have seen her on last year's Beauty and the Geek. So she's a Cairns local, so obviously being on Beauty and the Geek, what geek doesn't want to meet a real-life beauty? So we've got her along. Stuff to do on the day, there's going to be heaps. We've got Glow World, they're setting up a 9D action cinema outside. We've got face painting, board gaming competitions with the Wicked Goblin, retro arcade competitions with myself, Luigi's Video Games. I won't be doing that, my wife will. We've got drawing competitions, because Black Comic Book Store, they're going to be doing some stuff there. You can actually get some cosplay stuff on the day from Singapore, Charlie. If you've just rocked up in your jeans and t-shirt, whatever, get cosplayed up, rock next door, and we're setting up a green screen booth where you can have your cosplay character and have the background captured by Catherine. Event cinemas are coming along. They're going to set up a mini cinema, and they're going to have popcorn there and showing previews of upcoming movies, which will be pretty cool to see. And yeah, there's heaps of stuff. We've got maybe over 60 vendors now. So there's going to be a lot to see and do on the day. We're going to have replica weapons and shields and stuff from Super Gifts. You can even grab yourself a pop culture muffin. We've got Jack Lee's Bakehouse are coming along, and they're going to do some pop culture muffins. So yeah, there'll be heaps going on.
Hey, fantastic. Okay. So one more thing, guys, by the way, websites and where can people get tickets?
You can find us on the internet at sugarcitycon.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/sugarcitycon. Tickets are actually going on sale next week. So I don't know what day your podcast will go up. They may or may not be on sale, but just check the website and the Facebook page and you'll get the details for tickets.
No worries. I'll make sure I mention that in the outro.
Cool.
For Tropicon, you can head to www.tropicon.com.au, or if you're local to Cairns, you can go to Kasplat, Wicked Goblin, Luigi's Video Games, Glow World, and Singapore Charlie's. So yeah, you can go in there and grab a ticket for $15 at the moment. You can also rock up on the day. Tickets on the door will be $20.
All right, John. Well, look, thank you very much for your time. It's been great chatting with you, especially as this has been my first combination. Actually, not a location interview because I've got Charlie here in the studio, but yeah, having someone chat with in front of the microphone with me and someone chatting across the internet at the same time. So thank you both very much for your time, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, thanks. Been really good.